Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. Now, Joyce has got back into action with a great stoppage win over Valish or Wallish, one of the other. But anyway, he has got a victory and obviously that propels him nicely into the Daniel Dubois fight. Dubois was watching, but obviously he said that the guy wanted to quit after the first round. The guy was, a solid opponent in some way, I guess. He represented a challenge for Joyce. He was there on the other side of the ring. He was never going to beat Joyce, but it was just about Joyce getting a warm-up, getting back into the ring, and just shaking off some of that ring rust before he gets in there with Daniel Dubois, who has maybe a little bit more of a tougher test in Pfeiffer, but still, he should be coming through that fight, and Joyce will be waiting for him in October. Now, obviously, they are both having these fights due to COVID-19, and obviously the fight not being able to happen between them two, and being pushed back to October. So ultimately, they've had these interim fights to just keep busy and not go into that big fight where they have ring rust and being out of the ring for nearly a year. So it is kind of important that they had these fights in between. Joyce has a little bit of an advantage over Daniel Dubois because his fight has happened now and he has longer to get ready. But that's not going to play too much of a factor in the fight. They're both going to have good time to prepare. They both know that they're fighting one another anyway. So it's just about getting into shape. The game plans will already be set because they would have fought already if their fight had gone ahead. So ultimately the game plans and everything they are going to do will be put into place. It's just about getting into shape, getting ready for fight night. Now Joyce did warn after to Daniel Dubois, "I'm coming for you." That is what Joyce said in the immediate aftermath of his fight. Obviously Daniel Dubois was watching as well, and again he said that the guy just wanted to quit after the first round. He didn't represent a big challenge for Joyce, but again, he wasn't supposed to. He was supposed to be a warm-up fight for Joyce to kick off the ring rust, and that's it. He wasn't really meant to be there as a top-level opponent to really challenge Joyce. Not at short notice, no way. So that is the reason why that happened. Dubois does have a bit of a tougher fight, and that's a good thing, I think, because you can't really go from, what was it, Fujimoto to Joyce. You just can't. It's a too big a step. Obviously, Daniel Dubois had that Nathan Gorman fight, but then had two kind of gimme fights after that, and now he's fighting Joyce. So having a tougher level opposition will help Daniel Dubois prepare for Joyce because it's a level he's never been to before. Because let's remember, Joyce has some good wins in the pro ranks. He's beaten Bryant Jennings. That's his best win to date. But still, that's quite a tough fight for someone who's only had, 9 or 10 fights? So ultimately, Joyce is moving fast. He has to because he's, 34, 35. He still has a lot of life in him. He still has a full career ahead of him, but still, he is being fast-tracked. But in reality, he doesn't need any gimme fights. He needs these tough fights because he's already at that level. Brilliant amateur pedigree. Brilliant pro pedigree as well now. Obviously, he entered that World Boxing Series or whatever it was where it's like semi-pro. So he had like 15 or more fights in that. So Joyce is ready. Joyce doesn't need gimme fights. He needs these tough fights. He needs the Daniel Dubois. Then maybe on to Andy Ruiz Jr. That is what Sam Jones said. Possibly Andy Ruiz Jr. He would be willing to put Joyce in with Ruiz after Daniel Dubois. But let's focus on Daniel Dubois first. This is a tough fight for Joyce. This is also a tough fight for Daniel Dubois. And come on, realistically, they are being told to snipe at one another and say this and that. But ultimately, I'm not buying into it for that. I don't need them to say this about that guy and this about that guy. I don't need them to do that. It's going to be a great fight. But what they're doing is obviously bringing out their character or trying to create a character and sell the fight through that, through a little bit of trash talk. Because let's be real, neither of them are trash talkers, but still, that's what they must do to sell the fight to a wider audience. Us boxing fans, we know it's going to be a great fight. We don't need them to say this and that. We just need them to get into training camp, get ready, get prepared. Dubois must beat Pfeiffer, then the fight can happen. This is going to be a great fight. It does not need to be built in any way, shape or form. But still, for boxing fans, we know it's going to be a great fight. Now, is it going to be like Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte? No, I don't think so, because there was genuine needle between them two. There was no like trash talk or saying this and that because they had to sell the fight. They genuinely didn't like one another. I don't think it's the same with Dubois and Joyce. I think that maybe they don't like each other, but they don't really dislike one another either. So there's no malice between them. They're just trying to sell a fight. They are rivals, and that's where it ends. So there's no malice between Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. But that being said, this will catch fire at some point in the fight. Emotions will get involved. Both of them will want to get the knockout and make a statement, because whoever wins this fight will be propelled to a world level or fringe world level at the gate anyway. So they need to make a statement. They need to make this big. This is whoever wins. This is their coming out party. Now, I like the things that Sam Jones is saying about Joe Joyce, Andy Ruiz Jr. after this, because ultimately what he said is that Joe Joyce is not going to get a world title fight in 2021 because you have mandatories, you have undisputed. So it's looking like 2022. So why not have tough fights? Why not have fights that the fans want to see? And I like that. I just hope that they stick to it. And obviously, those tough world level fights rely heavily on Joe Joyce beating Daniel Dubois, which I'm not going to say is a given. I don't think that Joe Joyce is definitely going to beat Daniel Dubois. I don't think that Daniel Dubois is definitely going to beat Joe Joyce. We don't know what is going to happen. We will only find out on fight night. You can break it down. You can say that, okay, Dubois moves quite well. He has good speed, good explosiveness, good power, but is there to be hit, especially considering he's never really been tested with a puncher or someone who is as skilled as Joe Joyce. When Joe Joyce starts throwing punches back, that is when we will learn a lot more about Daniel Dubois. And Joe Joyce, there to be hit, comes forward, has a granite chin, but ultimately the best chin in the business is the one that doesn't get hit. Joe Joyce does get hit a lot. And while yes, he is extremely durable, can he take the power of Daniel Dubois? Has he ever faced anyone who punches as hard as Daniel Dubois in the pro game? No. So there are questions that need to be answered for both fighter that will be answered in the fight. I think that Joe Joyce is the underdog going in there with Daniel Dubois, which is kind of strange because Joe Joyce has the better pro record. He also has the better amateur pedigree as well over Daniel Dubois, yet still Daniel Dubois seems to be the favourite. It's because Joe Joyce looks slow, methodical, and there to be hit. Daniel Dubois, fast, powerful puncher. Many believe, like maybe the bookies, I don't know, but whoever are underestimating Joe Joyce maybe, believe that Dubois goes in there too fast for Joe Joyce, smacks him a couple of times, and he's down and out. But, I mean, Joe Joyce is completely different in the ring, I would imagine. When he's right there in front of you and he's closing you down, you hit him with everything you got, yet you can't move him. So it's obviously going to be a lot different for Dubois being in there with Joe Joyce, as opposed to watching a tape of him and saying, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw punches and bunches, move faster than he can, and he won't be able to catch me, but I'll be able to catch him whenever I want to. It's not going to be like that. It's a lot more difficult to put a game plan into play when you're in there with someone like Joe Joyce who will be closing Dubois down, who will, if he gets tired, exploit that. Because we've never seen Daniel Dubois in a fight where he gets tired or whether he's being pushed down the stretch, and Dubois is always in control of everything. Distance, timing, speed, everything of the fight he controls. But against Joe Joyce, is he going to be able to control that? What will Daniel Dubois do if he loses control of that? What will he do if he starts to tire? We don't know. And I guess you could say the same maybe about Joe Joyce. What happens when he gets hit on the chin by a very explosive puncher like Daniel Dubois? We don't know. He has a granite chin, but can he stand up to that kind of power? Unknown. That is what is so intriguing about this fight. That is why it should be a genuine 50-50 and not edging in the favour of either fighter. Obviously, Dubois is going to be the favourite going in because he walks in there, steamrolls through every opponent. Daniel Dubois has been an explosive knockout puncher. Not necessarily the same thing for Joe Joyce, but still, he always gets the win. So this fight maybe won't be as one-sided as it can be believed because Daniel Dubois is faster and more powerful. That is not the only thing that we can go off of. Joe Joyce has good timing. Timing beats speed. So they both kind of match up quite well. The powerful puncher, the fast guy. Whereas Joe Joyce, yeah, gets hit too much, but he has good timing. And he's not maybe fast, but timing does beat speed. So I believe that we will find out a lot about both of these fighters in this next fight. The winner will go on to the next level. The loser will obviously have to regather themselves, but it's not the end. for the loser, because these are two good fighters coming together at British and European level to fight and see who goes to the next level. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.